peeps, what is the beef? Episode 49 of the Chef Fit podcast. Pandemic might cause the industry to change. There's a big fat question mark at the end of that one. Peter, what's happening, bro? You good?
What's the crack, boss man? We well?
We're fucking taking over. We're taking over.
I'm in my hazmat suit now myself.
Yeah,
here we go.
The human condom here. He's keeping himself safe. That's close to going outside. To be honest, where we are, man, it hasn't really like it. I don't know. Is it an Aussie thing? It's like, yeah, fucking Corona. Yeah, it'll get you eventually. You know what I mean? There's a bit of like people are getting quarantined, but they're kind of getting told to go in quarantine. It's not like back home where it's just like fucking shut the gates.
Everybody is being guilt tripped into quarantining.
Yeah, big time.
You know what I mean? This is it. Social media has blown this out of proportion like nothing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I'm not half as. It's not that I'm not taking it seriously whatsoever. I know how dangerous a flu is, and this is more dangerous than a flu. But it is by no means called to shut the bleeding country down. Stopping flights, the whole lot. It's ridiculous.
That's the whole thing with, I saw a really, really good thing. If anyone doesn't follow him, James Smith is a very good online. He's a PT, kind of runs a fucking online business. He's very well known now. And he's kind of saying about this whole debacle that, you know, people are actively and proactively seeking anxiety on social media. Like you're proactively seeking it out and you're trying to find something to fucking like, to literally confirm your fear. And I think it's a real fucking lesson for all of us. We're all together. We're all fucking one world and everyone's accepted, except when the shit hits the fan and you have to fucking buy all the fucking food for yourself and all the bog roll for yourself because you're a selfish cunt at the end of the day. You know, like I think we've opened ourselves up to a lot of that. To be honest, as scary as like it is a fucking situation. You do have to be vigilant and you do have to take it very, very serious. I haven't experienced what you've experienced. You know, like Ireland is fucking full bore lockdown right now, and whether
now everybody's having a crack, but the shit's about to hit the fan now. When everyone that's being let go or sent home or not working at the moment, next week is when that's going to start hitting home. And phase 2 of the pandemic, which is going to have nothing to do with the virus. And it's going to do with what you were saying, this anxiety brought on by real and not real things.
Right.
The real things being, like how many chefs have you heard from in the last couple of days going, I've been let go, I've been sent home, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah, big time.
You know, that's when their wages stop, that's when this is going to turn into a real pandemic instead of the pretend one that Facebook and Instagram is making it out to be.
Yeah, well, that's the real fucking. I suppose that's kind of the topic for today. Is, you know, we always talk about it, and we always talk about that thing around, you know, who are you killing yourself for, and all of these things. I did a post about it a while back when this thing was kicking off, and I first started hearing about a lot of the chefs being on unpaid leave. And then I was hearing about just actually just being fully let go. Like you're just like, and same thing with front of house staff. I think all hospitality staff have been absolutely fucked by this thing. And the reason they've been fucked is because in a corporate sector, you can work from home. If you're working for fucking Facebook, you can work from home. You know what I mean? Like chances are you can carry on what you're doing if you have a computer. Can't really do that in hospitality because it's a service that's being provided to people. You know what I mean? And I think it's definitely cause for questioning the industry even more, you know. And as I said before, like something needs to happen within hospitality to change. Like restaurants need to change how they do business. Companies need to change how they're doing business in terms of what they're treating their staff with, you know, how secure the fucking employment actually is in the first place. You know, when we think about it for a sec, you know, if you've been breaking your bollocks with someone for a number of years, and then as soon as shit gets hard for the business or, you know, something like this happens, you're gone, you know, and all of that is kind of out the window. I caught flack from some business owner the other day on the Chef Fit page. every couple of days or every couple of weeks, I'll get somebody not even trolling, just getting triggered by something I've said and trying to lash out. And he's like, "What the fuck do you want us to do? You know, nobody asked for this." He's got 3 businesses. He's not paying anyone anything. They're all being let go for the most part. Or sorry, he's not. He's keeping some staff, most staff on, but they're not being paid. He's had to let people go and this and that. I think it's like, in situations like this, I don't blame any individual business owner. I'm not here to fucking point a finger at you, but I'd also, if I was in that position, you know, and I would attempt to do my best for people. Like there's a video that's going viral at the moment, and there's a guy, I can't remember his fucking name. He's an Irish guy anyway, restaurateur, and he's talking about before restaurants were even told to close, he closed. You know what I mean? He shut everything down, and he made sure that all the staff were paid fully, which probably wouldn't even be expected in a time like this. You know what I mean? If you were getting half your pay, but he's paying them fully for the time because it's something that's out of their control. They haven't done anything. And on him, he said, in his own words, it's like he's going to have to find a way for his staff. You know what I mean? Like if he pays them now, like he'll fucking figure it out. He'll get a loan. He'll, you know, take money out of the business later on at another time. I understand it's difficult and everyone's situation is different, but ultimately I genuinely think that employers within this industry, they kind of like you're a discardable, you know, you're replaceable, and you don't necessarily deserve, they don't think you deserve, you know, any kind of security, any kind of stability. You know, if the shit hits the fan, sure, who cares if you've got a fucking family? Who cares if you've got bills to pay? Who cares about this because I'm struggling with my business? You know, and I think that's a really weak bullshit mentality. It's awful. And I think if you take on the responsibility of running a business, and, you know, you are responsible for your employees. And I think to just discard them because you're not going to have money coming in for a couple of weeks is bullshit. It's like you take the hit down the line. I think that's the responsibility that you must take on. I understand not every situation is the same, but that is the responsibility you must take on, you know, and I think it's very, very unfair. But outside of that, like,
the loyalty that an owner would get from their staff if they stood up for them and put their neck on the line for them.
Yeah, big time. But that's leadership, and it's so fucking lacking, you know?
Yeah. It's sad to see. And a lot of people aren't going to go back. You know, I was on a round table today with a couple of chefs from Chef here, and they were in the same situation. And they said, it could be a month, could be 6 months. And I was like, well, look, if it's going to be 6 months, here's what I recommend you do. You go online or old school print out CVs, and you go and you hit up every single Tesco's in your area, every Aldi. You go in, you'll be starting off 14, 15 quid an hour. You'll take the hit, you'll get a job. And I guarantee you, I said, in 3 months' time or 4 months' time, when this blows over and restaurants are looking for chefs again, you will not go back. Yeah. Because you'll be working somewhere else. You'll be working in different environments. People will be in Tesco's going, it's pension day, we're up the bleeding walls. And you're like, well, you think this is busy? Do you know what I mean? And this is what my brother did. He did this after 25 years of being a chef. He moved west, and, you know, he has a farm and all that, and he got a job in Tesco's. And now 10 years later, he's on payroll, he's doing great, and he loves it, and he wouldn't go back for all the money in the world.
Big time. And that's the whole thing.
This is what I'm going to be recommending to people now.
He was in hospitality before that, was he?
He was a restaurant chef for 25 years.
Jesus, that's a mad change. But again, probably didn't look back and hasn't looked back, you know. I think...
No, he was delighted.
Sure, even Ella was looking at it over here. My missus, you know, obviously she was on the job hunt for a couple of weeks, you know, prior to this thing kicking off. And obviously since the thing has kicked off, like, that's kind of out the window. And the only job she's looking into that was going up was Coles down the road. There was a supermarket. But secure pay, you know, fucking plenty hours. And it's like, actually, fuck, you're comparing the pay. Just you're getting paid more than the chefs. Majority of chef's salary
paid
or
more
wage.
Than any hourly job is going to be paying more than a chef's salary when you work out by the hours.
Yeah, fucking absolute madness. And, you know, it reminds me of something. I remember a couple of years ago, where I was called in. I used to work for a cocktail events company, very, very big, like a fucking well-known company, but it was a small team. You know what I mean? Like it was a factory off Clanbrossil Street in town. But we were contracted by IDL, Irish Distillers. So that'd be like Jameson, Absolute Vodka, you know, big companies like that. So you do fucking gigs for them. And I remember I was young enough at the time. I remember I got called in for jury service. And I hadn't a fucking pot to piss in. Like I don't come from a family where there was money there to support you on a fucking period of time. And I also wasn't working for a place that was willing to pay me money while I was doing jury service. So I was like, look, no, fuck it.
Where we come from, as soon as you get your first job, that's it. You're cut off.
Yeah, literally. And I couldn't, but that was literally it from the age of fucking 17. It's like, no, you're paying your way and you're paying rent to live here. I don't give a fuck. You know, so I was like, okay. So I couldn't, like, I literally couldn't afford to do it. And I remember asking my boss at the time, you know, would he mind drafting me a letter and just letting them know that, like, the work right now is essential, that I needed in the business and all that. He's like, what are you talking about? This is transient work. Why would I do that for you? And I was like, good question. Fuck you. Do you know what I mean? But it was also highlighted mind. Not only are you getting paid fuck all, you got no stability at all. So for me, it's like I don't have an answer here. It's just I think a lot of things get called into question, you know, and this pandemic gives us a perspective. Like I can't remember the last time the world literally had its shit fucked up, and it does right now. You know what I mean? Where everything is just like, you know, to the nth degree. People are actually feeling pressure, like real pressure, like go to the shop, can't buy food, scared if I've got a family member at high risk, if I go out, I might infect them. You know what I mean? Like there's real fears that human beings don't have these days in Western, like first world countries. We don't have this shit to fucking worry about, you know? And I think it's really raised a lot of questions about what way we're actually living, you know? And I think in the hospitality industry, food and drink, chefs, front of house staff, I think it's time to question your loyalty, you know, and I think it's time for the industry as a whole to change how it's kind of doing business, honestly. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely things changing, like companies that I would be speaking to, like the Stein Group, for example. We've got a couple of chefs in Sheffield from the Stein Group, and big shout out to them because they are a very forward thinking place, you know, and they are looking to fucking have things in place for their young chefs. So they're not only, it's not just about fitness, but it's understanding how to take care of yourself, understanding how to fucking, you know, work things in your career so you're kind of going in the direction that you want to and you're not getting fucked over. You know, being able to control your lifestyle and making sure you're in the best place possible. Like very few places are doing that. They are, in fairness to them. But I would question any other place where you're just treated like a piece of shit and you're fucked out at the first sign of adversity because business owners are scared. And it's like, I don't blame the business owners, but I just think you should question your loyalty to that. That's what I'm saying. I'm not here to tell you it's their fault. It's no one's fault that this thing has happened. We're all under pressure. I get it. But I think it's vital that we question what's going on within the industry. So that's one thing. And yeah, it's definitely really, I think the one industry that's been massively affected is hospitality, you know.
Yeah, that's why I recommend, and it's a perfect opportunity for people to have their hand forced to go and look at doing something else. And look, I'm not anti-chef. I go on a bit like anti-chef, but I'm not anti-chef. I'm anti-chef life more than anything else, or anti the industry, the way it is, or the way it has gone, or what it does to chefs. So I'm not against the job or anything like it. It's just the way it ends up. You know, it's like there's no difference to it. There's no difference to any place or any chef. It always happens.
Yeah. I'll always go back to that example of, you know, really depends what you want to do. But like, if you are at that point where you've been in the industry for 15, 20 years and you are getting paid fuck all and you've got no security and you've got no work-life balance, it's like you have to start questioning things at that point, in my opinion. You know what I mean? You have to be questioning what you're doing. You need to question the people employing you. Like, are they taking care of you? And if they're not taking care of you, like, let's fucking flip the script and aim for something else that's actually going to make you happy. Because ultimately, if you think about, you know, is cooking making you happy? Yes or no? You know, that's a real question. Like, is cooking making you happy, yes or no? If the answer is yes, fucking great, rock on and sacrifice for that thing. But currently, if it's not, and you're just kind of carrying on, like, you know yourself, you told me about this before, Peter, a guy you were talking to who was burnt out from being in a restaurant, had a period with you guys in the catering where he was doing like 6:30 to 3:00. And then he's like, fuck it, well, I got to go back into the restaurant now. You know what I mean? And I'll just put my head down for the next 5 years. And it's like, for what?
Didn't see, said he puts his kid to bed on Sunday night and doesn't see them again till the following Sunday. That's great. That's great, isn't it?
Like, I think that's ridiculous.
A 3-year-old kid. Like, there's nobody that's worth that. There's no job that's worth that.
But you're not getting
If that's your passion, then your alignment isn't right anyway.
Big time. Yeah, there's things that need to be called into question. What I question in that situation is that it's quite, and I don't blame chefs for this because you are so programmed, but you're programmed to be very selfish about your career. You know, and I've done this, you've done it. You know, where you
it does make you a better. It can make you a better chef. That's a trait that works for your favor in the game, and that's a terrible thing to say, but I've had to take advantage of that myself so many times in the past.
Yeah, because there's a pro and a con to everything. When you 100% focus on something and you give all your time to it and you sacrifice it, you're going to get good at that thing. Like, no doubt in my mind, no doubt in any of our minds, you're going to get good at what you do. And I think there's a time and a place for that. But I think the time and the place for that is early on in your career when you're a fucking young chef and you need to learn grit. You need to learn fucking determination. You need to learn how to operate under pressure. You need to learn how to
do your time.
Yeah, do your time, pay your dues. You need to be able to show up and perform, even if you're fucking bollocks or whatever. You need to be able to show up and do those kind of hours. But I think your days are limited if you expect yourself to do that for 20, 30 years. I really do. Even 15 years. Like, it's a hiding to nothing. I really honestly think that. And I think you have to get to a certain point, as I said before, where, like, as you get into your mid to late 30s, let's say, you've got to start thinking about what you want. And it's like, you could push yourself to own your own place, and maybe you do that, great. But if that's not happening and you're just breaking your bollocks, as I said, for someone else for not a lot of pay, who's probably taking advantage of you or just isn't going to leave you out to dry when the shit hits the fan, you've got to question what the fuck you're doing there. You know what I mean? Because if they're not going to question themselves and the industry isn't going to change, we have to question what we're doing as individuals, because ultimately it's us who's responsible for our lives. I think that's very, very important. And asking yourself, what's going to make you happy? Like, if not seeing your kid for a week is a fucking option for you, like, I think that's a very selfish way of operating, to be honest. At a certain point, as I said, there's a time for putting your head down. There's also a time when you got a family, you wait, that kid will be fucking 10 years old and you won't even know him. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you'll have done your fucking the other 5 or 10 years in the restaurant. Like, it'd be all over the place. So there's that aspect of things. I think with this pandemic as well, it's reminded us of how we need to value our health. And this is kind of the angle I've been coming at. And this is something that I've been thinking about myself. And a lot of the theories that I've spouted before have kind of been true here. You know, I always have this saying that it's like, I've dropped it off a guy called Mark Ripito. It's stronger people are harder to kill and more useful in general. And people in a modern day society don't really understand the importance of taking care of yourself, because they're not, you don't know until the wolf's at the door. Yeah. You don't know until the wolf's at the door. You don't know until a pandemic breaks out and then you realize you're at risk because of your fucking health. And it's like, Jesus Christ. Like, I know, like, I have family who are high risk due to factors that they can't control, like pre-existing conditions, you know, and that is what it is. But for a lot of us who haven't been taking care of ourselves, who've just been in a fucking, just eating shit, drinking, not exercising, I don't need to fucking do that. Now you're going to be awoken to, well, actually, this is what happens if you don't take care of yourself, you know, because the people who are making the investment and the sweat equity in themselves, those are the ones that come out unscathed, you know, and that's the truth about a situation like this. Those are the ones that come out unscathed. And like, it's at this point in time, you know, and not to, you know, exhaust fear. I'm not, more than likely it's not going to happen. But like, you know, so for some people, it could be the difference between life and death. It could be the difference between having, you know, a flu that lasts a couple of days and being fucking put up in a hospital for a couple of weeks. You know, like, that's the difference here. And I think we all need to wake up to start taking better care of ourselves. It's something I've been
What was it
aware.
you said, Cam? Was it hard times don't last, hard people do, or tough times don't
Tough
last,
times
tough
don't
people?
last. Yeah, and I can't take credit for making that up, but it's something I say a
Mm.
lot, you know. And it's like,
Yeah.
tough times don't last, tough people do, and it's fucking very true. You know, the strong do survive, unfortunately, in these situations, and you need to be making sure that you're strong, and not only just in like physical strength. That's not it at all, but like resiliency, because that's all strength is at the end of the day. It's resiliency. You know, and look at all these examples across the world, like in cases of osteoporosis where your bone mineral density gets lower as you know, as you get older. Um, you know, in old people's homes, they're encouraging them to lift weights because it makes them more resilient. It increases their bone density and makes them fucking stronger humans who are more likely to survive. You know, with anything that we do, like in terms of your running, like fucking again, I went for a run yesterday, I run the day before, and it's like getting my heart and lungs opened up. But it's like, fuck me, how much more efficient is my respiratory system as a amount, and yourself included, and every chef in the tribe? How much more, you know, resilient is your respiratory system to fight off infection or just remain healthy as a result of doing your fucking runs, your walks? You know, potentially a lot of the guys have cut back, you know, they stopped smoking. Like, that's again really important. And if you haven't been doing that, like, you are now at risk. You're going to have a fucking problem. You are going to have a problem. And you keep seeing shit like this where, you know, oh, well, this isn't just a disease that affects older people or babies. You know, there's young people getting admitted to hospital with it. It's like, yeah, young people with what? You know, what is their state of health? You know, where are they at? I think it's a big wake up call for all of us. You know, it really is. Your health is your fucking wealth. And when you're in a life threatening situation, or, you know, when you're in a situation where it's very real, and your decisions that you make with yourself, like, they come to foot, like, you have to pay the piper at some point in the game, you know. So you can pay it now and start taking better care of yourself, or you can end up in a space where you're in fucking trouble. And I think it's food for thought for a lot of us.
Time.
You know,
Being mentally strong is just as important now as well.
totally. Yeah.
For yourself and those depending on you and those around you.
Yeah, massively. And I'll talk about this. I talked about this the other day. Is, you know, there's never been more of a time for leadership. And I noticed that in modern day times, that we don't actually, people aren't really leaders. I think that's what social media does to us. I think as, you know, men have lost a lot of rites of passage or rituals or ways of initiating themselves into becoming men. We've kind of lost a lot of leadership, you know. And I think in these times, people are fucking freaking out. People are panicking. People are getting angry. People are doing this and the people doing that, and they're thinking for themselves and not anyone around them. There's never been more of a time for people to be fucking level-headed. There's never been more of a time for people to be, you know, generous, you know, and fucking, like, there's people in local community back home. There's actually a chef guy called Paul, and fair fucking play to him. The Horse and Hound is a pub and a restaurant in Greystones, and it's shut down. And he's basically in the open forum, and he's offered his services. They're cooking food for the elderly, delivering that around, going to the shops for people in need in that community. It's like, we fucking need people like that stepping up and doing shit, you know, as opposed to go to the shop, take all the toilet paper, take all the fucking hand sanitizer, take all the essentials, and fuck off back to your
Baby
gaff and
formula.
Yeah, and fuck everyone else, you know. Like, that mentality is not, like, that's not the way to be operating. But unfortunately, we don't have leaders who are willing to say, actually, this is what needs to be done. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't seen the government step in Ireland, especially, because that's all I've been fucking seeing on my social media. Even though there has been like a shut everything down, I don't think there's been a deliberate, you know, someone stepping up strong in the role and being able to fucking really guide us through a tough time. I think all Varadkar was, I thought it was honest, but it was piss weak in my opinion, you know. But I think now is the time for leadership.
He did quote Winston Churchill.
Did he? You're going through it. What did he say?
He did quote. He said, hold on, I'll just butcher fucking one of the most famous quotes of all time. Never has so much been asked of So something by so few. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was Churchill. Yeah.
You did well there. That was a fucking good paraphrase there, man.
I nearly made it without thinking about it. I nearly got to the end of it.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that he did say, and you touched on this earlier on, was he said about don't sit there on your phone all day. That was one bit of solid advice that he said out of that I took from that yesterday. Don't sit on your phone all day. I went and made 60 or 80 scones through the day, and then sent the boys around to the elderlies in the area, just dropping the say, do you want some scones? Do you want some scones? Do you want some scones? And it was more just to get people, I was thinking, for them to actually speak to another human more than have a scone, because they probably looked at it and went, oh yeah, that's great, yeah, and then just fucking coronavirus on that, and then threw it in the bin. That doesn't matter. It was the thought of them getting it, because it's all old people around here, do you know what I mean? So the thought of them just actually seeing another person speaking to them, just in case, that's all it was.
Yeah, and again, it's like it goes back to that, community, fucking tribe. Like you're living in a local area, like there's elderly people who don't have the ability to go to a shop and fill up a fucking trolley full of shit. Me and Ella were in the shop the other day, and there was an old woman who she was looking for something on the top shelf. Half the fucking shelves were fleeced, and she's asked me, oh, what does that say? And what does that say? And do you mind grabbing it? It's like, fuck me, your heart goes out to people, We know we take it for granted, I think. We take our health for granted. We take all of these things for granted, everything that we've got in our fucking lives. And I think right now we need to gain that perspective back, that when things do settle down and things are normalized, that we start taking better care of ourselves, that we start respecting ourselves more, we start respecting other people more. We take more responsibility as opposed to just going out for ourselves. And ultimately within this industry and everyone that's in hospitality right now, I think a massive rethink on where the fuck everything is at. You know what I mean? Questioning your loyalty to people who have just fucked you over. That's it.
And then when applying for a job, to keep things like that in consideration. What will this employer do for me if I go up to shits, and what will I do for them when they're up to shits?
Exactly. And making sure that you're both on the same page there.
Yeah, there has to be back scratching, has to go both ways. It's as simple as that. Because you know yourself, in every single restaurant, bank holiday weekend on a Friday, that's when the extraction breaks. That's when this happens and that happens, and that's all thrown onto the chefs, and they'll do it and they'll get through it. They'll get no thanks for it. And then when something like this happens, when you really you have to, not like you should, you have to look after your staff. You really do. And it's not happening. It's less than 1% of the people that are being looked after. Me, I was very lucky, so I'm not going to I'm not giving out on what I'm not complaining from me. It's just from everything that I've heard from friends of mine, from family members, from the tribe. They're just not being looked after. It's shocking. It's terrible to see.
It is. It's fucking really horrible. And I can only hope that our worst fears don't come to reality when it comes to that. You know what I mean? In terms of how long this thing is actually going to fucking take to blow over. Hoping it's a couple of weeks and not a fucking couple of months, but we'll wait and see. Anyway, for anyone listening to this, stay optimistic, stay positive, take responsibility and lead yourself and the people around you. Small things that you can do, like go onto the ChefFit page and check out some of the stuff I've been doing in the past couple of weeks in regards to the coronavirus, things you can do, strategies, you know what I mean, like your morning routine, keeping yourself sane, what exercise you can do. Like if you have any questions, do get in contact, but there is things there. Take responsibility of that and lead yourself from the front and those around you, and be a beacon.
And your health.
Yeah.
Your health as well, as you're saying with the morning routine. Everybody now at the moment, most already were, but everybody now is they're doing their vitamin C. There are multiple other vitamins in the morning time.
Yeah.
The apple cider vinegar is coming back in as well, and people are feeling the benefits of that. As you said, an extra handful of spinach in with every meal is going to make a world of difference.
Massively. And I think
there's habits that can be built out of that as well by forcing yourself to do it now that it's in your mind. How can I make myself stronger inside and out?
Totally, 110%. And I think for all of us, you can take that from the page. If there's any questions, give us a shout. Otherwise, give us a thumbs up on the video if you enjoyed it. Give us a 5-star review on Podbean or iTunes if you are listening to it there. Subscribe to the channel, share it on your social media platforms, and share it with chefs. If you're listening to this, stick it on in the fucking kitchen. You know, stick it on somewhere where, you know, other chefs can hear it and spread the message and get this thing around. Because the more, if we get an individual like yourself who's listening to it, who can help support us and get it out to other people, you know, God knows where this thing goes. So that'd be much appreciated. Anyway, be a fucking beacon of light when things are dark. That's the idea of this episode. And that's what I want you to get away from it. Peter, legend as always. Stay safe, my friend.
Listen, Chief.
Peeps. That is it for today. Catch us all in the next one. Stay safe.